Omega was laughed at for singing off-key until Alpha King recognized the forgotten Luna melody. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. Meet Jessica Stone, a young woman who's always felt out of place in her own world. With pale skin and auburn hair, she carried herself with quiet grace. But there was one thing that made her different from everyone else: her voice. She had always been embarrassed by it. People would laugh when she sang, mocking her for being off-key. Her voice wasn't harsh or grating, but it lacked the precision and harmony others expected, especially in a world where music was as important as breathing. Jessica had a secret love for singing, but after countless embarrassing moments, she had locked that part of herself away, telling herself it was better to keep quiet than risk the ridicule. However, the truth was, there was something special about her voice, something the world had yet to realize. The people in her town never understood that when she sang, she wasn't just making noise. She was connecting with something deeper, something ancient. But who would ever care about that? One evening, at a grand gathering in the center of town, things were about to change. The Alpha King of the land, Ethan Blackwell, was among the guests. His presence commanded attention, tall, imposing, with sharp features and dark, piercing eyes. As the leader of his people, Ethan was known for his strength, his power, and his ability to command respect without saying a word. People feared him, and rightfully so. But what they didn't know was that Ethan also had a secret. He was a man haunted by the past, by old legends of his people, legends of a forgotten melody that was said to possess great power. The melody of Luna. At the gathering, Ethan observed the crowd with his usual aloof demeanor. But as Jessica stepped forward to sing, something caught his attention. He wasn't sure why, but when she opened her mouth and sang, even though the notes didn't quite align, something stirred within him. The melody wasn't perfect, but it wasn't ordinary either. Ethan was taken aback, his heart quickening in a way he couldn't explain. He had heard the stories of the Luna melody, passed down through generations, and now, standing in front of him, was someone unknowingly singing it. He realized Jessica wasn't just singing off-key, she was singing something ancient, something forgotten. A connection, a bond, had been made in that very moment, one that would change everything for both of them. As the evening continued, the guests at the gathering were buzzing with excitement, oblivious to the powerful moment that had just unfolded. Jessica stood there, her face flushed from the attention she hadn't asked for, unsure of what had just happened. The laughter had stopped, but she didn't know if it was because people were simply too shocked to react, or because something had truly shifted in the air. Ethan Blackwell's gaze lingered on her for a moment longer than anyone else's. He had recognized the melody. It wasn't just an ordinary song. It was the forgotten Luna melody, a song said to have been lost to time, but one that had been embedded deep within the legends of his people. He had heard the stories of the Luna melody since he was a child, told by elders in hushed tones, speaking of its power to heal, to change the course of fate, and to connect the realms. It was said that only those who were meant to carry the melody could sing it, even if they didn't realize it. And Jessica had just sung it. Her voice, off-key as it seemed to others, was the key to something much greater. Ethan could feel a pull in his chest, a deep connection that stirred him like nothing he had ever felt before. He knew he had to find out more. He couldn't just ignore it. "That was incredible," Ethan said, his voice low and serious as he approached Jessica. His words were not the polite compliments she had grown used to, but something far more intense. "You have no idea what you just did." Jessica looked up at him, her heart racing. She had never seen him this close before, and his presence was overwhelming. His dark eyes locked onto hers, with such intensity that she felt exposed, as if he could see right through her. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Ethan stepped closer, his expression softening just enough to show that he wasn't trying to intimidate her, but rather to understand. "You sang the Luna melody. It's a song that has been lost for centuries. Few even know of it, and fewer still have the gift to sing it. But you—" He hesitated, as though searching for the right words. You have it. The power in your voice. It's something ancient. Something no one else here understands. Jessica blinked, trying to process his words. She had always thought her singing was nothing more than a nuisance, a way to pass time when she was alone. But this was something different. She looked down, feeling a mixture of disbelief and curiosity. I don't know what you're talking about, she murmured. I can't even sing right. People laugh at me. Ethan shook his head slowly. What others see as imperfect, I see as something extraordinary. You have a gift, Jessica, and I believe the Luna Melody has chosen you. The words felt strange in her ears. She couldn't quite understand why someone like Ethan, who had the power to command nations, would see something so special in her. But there was no mistaking the sincerity in his eyes. She felt a spark of hope stirred deep within her, something she hadn't felt in a long time. But what does this mean? She asked quietly. What am I supposed to do with it? Ethan stepped back, his gaze still fixed on her with intensity. That, Jessica, is what I need to find out. And I believe we can discover it together. The conversation had taken a turn Jessica never could have imagined. In that moment, as she looked into Ethan's eyes, something inside her shifted. She realized that the life she had known, the life of self-doubt and ridicule, might not be all there was for her after all. The next day, Jessica found herself back in her small cottage, sitting by the window, gazing out at the rolling hills beyond. The wind gently stirred the leaves of the trees, but her mind was far from peaceful. Ethan's words echoed in her mind, his intense gaze still fresh in her memory. The Luna Melody has chosen you. What did that even mean? She had always seen herself as nothing more than an ordinary person, someone who didn't belong in the world of power and greatness. But now, Ethan, the Alpha King, had singled her out. She didn't know if she was ready for such responsibility. As the day passed, a sense of unease grew within her. She had never been one to chase after glory or attention, yet now, she felt like there was something much bigger at stake, something she couldn't ignore. She decided to go out for a walk, hoping to clear her mind. The forest near her home was peaceful, with only the sound of birds and rustling leaves filling the air. But as she walked deeper into the woods, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her. It wasn't fear, but rather a growing sense of anticipation, as though the world itself was waiting for her to make a decision. That was when she heard it. The melody. It was faint at first, just a whisper of sound on the wind, but as she walked, the tune became clearer. The notes were delicate, flowing like water, and they seemed to wrap around her heart. She stopped in her tracks, eyes wide in disbelief. It was the same melody she had sung the night before, the one Ethan had recognized. But now, it was in the air, surrounding her, as though the very earth was singing along with her. Her heart pounded in her chest. This couldn't be real, could it? She was hearing the Luna Melody in the wild, just as Ethan had described. The ancient song, the one that had been lost to time, was calling to her. And she, Jessica Stone, was the one who could hear it. She closed her eyes, letting the melody wash over her. It was as though the song was guiding her, leading her toward something. But what? What was she meant to do with this power? As the final notes faded into the breeze, Jessica opened her eyes and looked around. The forest was silent again, but she felt different. Changed. She knew that this was no coincidence. This was the moment she had been waiting for, even if she hadn't realized it until now. She had to go back to Ethan. She had to learn more about the Luna Melody and what it meant. For her, with a new sense of purpose, Jessica turned and headed back to town. The journey ahead was uncertain, and she wasn't sure what to expect. But one thing was clear. Her life had just changed in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. She was no longer just the girl who had been laughed at for her off-key singing. She was part of something much larger, something that could change everything. Jessica walked back to the village with a new sense of determination, her steps lighter than they had ever been before. The forest was behind her now, but the melody still echoed in her mind, a constant hum that filled her every thought. She couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was about to happen. As she approached the village, she noticed that people were still going about their usual business, unaware of the strange encounter she had just had. Nothing had changed on the surface, but she knew it would soon. She made her way to the main square where Ethan had first spoken to her. It wasn't difficult to find him. He stood near the grand stone fountain, his posture regal as always, his sharp eyes scanning the crowd. As soon as he saw her, his gaze softened slightly. "Jessica," he said, his voice steady but carrying an unmistakable warmth. "I was hoping you would come." There was no doubt in her mind now. She was ready to learn more. "I heard it," she said simply, her voice low but filled with certainty. Ethan raised an eyebrow, his interest piqued. "The melody?" She nodded, her eyes shining with the kind of revelation she had never thought possible. "It was in the forest, just as you said. It called to me." Ethan's expression turned serious, but there was a flicker of something else in his eyes, relief, perhaps, or even admiration. "This is what I feared," he said quietly, almost to himself. "The Luna melody is returning. And you are the key." Jessica's heart raced at his words. She hadn't expected this. To her, it had all been so surreal. "But what does it mean?" she asked, her voice filled with both curiosity and apprehension. Ethan took a deep breath, his face thoughtful. The Luna melody was said to be the song of the moon, a force of nature that could awaken powers beyond our understanding. It is linked to the very fabric of our world. Jessica, the one who sings it, who truly understands it, will have the power to change the course of history. His words hung in the air between them, weighty and powerful. Jessica couldn't help but feel the weight of what he was saying. Could it really be true? Could her voice, something she had always seen as a flaw, truly hold the key to something so immense? "But why me?" she asked, almost to herself. "Why is it me who can hear it?" Ethan stepped closer, his eyes never leaving hers. "Because you are the one chosen. The Luna melody does not choose just anyone. It chooses those who are meant to change the world. And now, it has chosen you, Jessica." Jessica swallowed hard, her mind racing with the possibilities. This wasn't the life she had imagined for herself. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized she couldn't turn away from it now. She had already heard the melody. She had already felt its power. There was no going back. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice steady, though her heart was still pounding in her chest. Ethan smiled, a glimmer of pride in his eyes. "Now, we begin the journey. Together." Days passed, and Jessica found herself in a whirlwind of confusion and revelation. The more time she spent with Ethan, the more she learned about the Luna melody and its significance. It was not just a song. It was a bridge between the past and the future, between the realms of the living and the divine. Ethan took her to ancient sites, places where the song had once been sung in a time long forgotten, and everywhere they went, Jessica felt a growing connection to the melody. Each note that resonated in her mind seemed to unlock more of the past, more of the power that had been dormant within her for so long. But the more she learned, the more the weight of the responsibility pressed down on her. The Luna melody was not just a gift. It was a burden. Ethan was always by her side, guiding her through the journey, but he made it clear that the path ahead would not be easy. "The melody is calling you for a reason," he explained one evening as they sat beneath the stars. "It is the key to restoring balance to our world. For centuries, our people have been divided, torn apart by fear and greed. The melody was meant to bring unity, but it has been lost, scattered to the winds. Now, it is up to you to restore it." Jessica's heart was heavy with the weight of his words. She had never imagined that a simple, off-key song could have such power. But now, it was clear to her that it wasn't just about singing. It was about restoring something much larger than herself. "How can I possibly do this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm just me. I'm no one special." Ethan turned to her, his gaze steady and reassuring. "That's where you're wrong. You are special, Jessica. You are the one who can see the melody, hear it, and bring it back to life. No one else can do that. Not even I." His words struck her deeply. He had always been the Alpha King, a powerful leader in a world of power struggles and politics. He had seen it all, but he believed in her. That belief was a weight she wasn't sure she was ready to carry. Yet, as the days passed, she realized that the Luna melody was not just about her. It was about all of them, the people of their world who had been living in shadows for too long. She had a role to play in bringing light back into their lives. As the two of them stood on the edge of a cliff one afternoon, looking out over the vast expanse of the land below, Jessica felt something stir within her. The melody was there, a faint but powerful hum in the distance. She closed her eyes, listening to its call, and for the first time, she felt the full weight of its purpose. "I'm ready," she said quietly. Ethan turned to her, a mixture of pride and caution in his eyes. "Then let's begin," he said, extending his hand to her. Together, they would embark on a journey that would not only change their lives, but the fate of the world itself. The journey began the very next morning, with the sun rising slowly over the horizon, casting a soft golden glow on the world around them. Jessica and Ethan set out on their quest to unlock the full power of the Luna melody. They traveled across vast stretches of land, through dense forests, and over rolling hills, seeking the ancient sites that held the secrets of the melody's origin. Along the way, Jessica felt the weight of her new purpose growing heavier with every step. She was no longer just a girl with a broken song. She was the one destined to restore balance to the world. Yet, the pressure was overwhelming. She often found herself lost in thought, wondering if she was truly capable of such a monumental task. Ethan, always by her side, noticed the unease in her eyes. One evening, as they sat around a campfire, he turned to her with a quiet understanding. "You are not alone in this, Jessica," he said, his voice steady and reassuring. "The Luna melody has chosen you, but that does not mean you have to carry its burden alone. We are in this together, and we will succeed together." His words brought her comfort, and for the first time since their journey began, she allowed herself to relax just a little. She nodded slowly, feeling a spark of hope ignite inside her. As the days turned into weeks, Jessica found herself becoming more attuned to the melody. She could hear it faintly, like a distant song carried on the wind, always just out of reach but ever present. It seemed to guide her, pulling her towards something, but she couldn't yet see what that something was. They arrived at a small village one evening, a place that had long been forgotten by time. The air here was thick with history, and as they walked through the village's abandoned streets, Jessica felt the weight of the past pressing in on her. Ethan led her to an ancient temple at the edge of the village. The stone structure was covered in ivy, its surface weathered by centuries of neglect. "This is where the Luna melody was first sung," Ethan explained, his voice low as if speaking to the temple itself. "Here, the song was meant to unite our people, to bridge the gap between the different clans and bring peace. But the song was lost, and so too was the peace." Jessica stepped forward, her heart racing. She could feel the presence of the melody here, its power almost tangible in the air. It was as if the very walls of the temple were alive with energy, waiting for the song to return. She closed her eyes and breathed deeply, letting the energy of the place wash over her. Slowly, she began to hum, her voice barely audible at first. The sound was soft, tentative, but as it echoed through the temple, something began to shift. The walls seemed to vibrate with the melody, and the air around them shimmered with an ethereal glow. Jessica's heart pounded in her chest as she continued, the song growing stronger with every note. It was as though the temple itself was awakening, responding to the music. Ethan watched her with a mixture of awe and admiration. He had seen many things in his life, but this was different. This was the moment he had been waiting for, the moment when the Luna melody would truly return. As Jessica's song filled the temple, the very ground beneath them seemed to hum with power. She opened her eyes, her voice steady and confident now. "I can feel it," she whispered, a sense of peace settling over her. "The melody, it's here. It's alive." Ethan stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You've done it, Jessica," he said softly. "You've awakened the Luna melody. Now, the world can begin to heal." As Jessica stood in the temple, her song still lingering in the air, she felt something profound shift within her. It was as if the very fabric of the world had changed, resonating with the power of the melody she had awakened. Ethan stood beside her, his gaze filled with quiet admiration, but also a deep sense of responsibility. "You've done it, Jessica," he said again, his voice filled with pride. "The first step has been taken, but this is just the beginning." Jessica turned to him, a mixture of uncertainty and determination in her eyes. "What now? What comes next?" Ethan took a deep breath, his expression serious. "Now, we must take the next step. The melody has awakened, but the world has been fractured for too long. There are forces at play that seek to control this power, to bend it to their will." He paused, his eyes locking onto hers. "We need to unite the clans, bring them together, and restore the peace that was lost. The melody is the key to that peace, but only if it is shared and understood. By all. Jessica nodded, the weight of his words settling heavily on her shoulders. She had always thought of the Luna melody as a personal connection, something that was only meant for her. But now, she understood that its power was far greater than she had imagined. It was a force that could heal the rift between divided people, that could bring unity where there had only been conflict. "How do we begin?" she asked, her voice steady despite the uncertainty she still felt. Ethan's gaze softened, and he placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "We start by seeking out the leaders of the clans, those who hold influence over their people. You will need to share the melody with them, show them its power. It will be a challenge, but if they can hear the song as you did, they will understand. The path ahead won't be easy, but with the melody, there is hope." Jessica took a deep breath. She was ready. The world had been torn apart by greed and fear, and now it was her turn to bring the pieces back together. As they left the temple, the first rays of dawn began to shine through the trees, casting a warm glow over the landscape. The journey ahead would be long and difficult, but Jessica knew one thing for certain. She could no longer turn back. The Luna melody was hers to share, and she would not stop until its power had healed the world. Ethan led her down the path, his steady presence at her side. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, bringing the world one step closer to unity, one note at a time. As Jessica and Ethan traveled from village to village, the weight of their mission became clearer with each passing day. The road ahead was filled with uncertainty, but Jessica could feel the presence of the Luna melody guiding her. She sang softly to herself at times, as if the very air responded to her voice, rippling with energy. But the journey was not just a personal one. It was a journey for the future of all the clans. The first leader they visited was from the Highland clan, a group known for their fierce independence and distrust of outsiders. The leader, a tall man named Caden, was known to be unyielding and proud. As they entered his stronghold, the tension in the air was thick. Caden stood tall before them, his eyes narrow, studying them with a careful gaze. "You seek to unite us with your song?" he asked, his voice sharp, like the wind that cut through the mountains. "You think a melody can heal the wounds of generations?" Jessica felt a wave of doubt wash over her, but Ethan's steady presence beside her gave her strength. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. "It's not just a melody," she said, her voice clear and firm. "It is a force, something that has the power to connect us all. It's not about forgetting our past, but using it to build a future where we stand together." Caden's eyes softened slightly, though his expression remained guarded. "And why should we trust you? What makes you different from the others who have tried and failed?" Jessica hesitated for only a moment before speaking. "Because I'm not asking you to follow me. I'm asking you to listen to the melody, to let it speak for itself." With a skeptical glance at Ethan, Caden motioned for them to follow him into a great hall. The walls were adorned with tapestries depicting the history of the Highland clan, and the air was filled with the scent of pine and cedar. As they reached the center of the hall, Jessica could feel the weight of the moment. This was it, the first time she would share the Luna melody with one of the clan leaders. She closed her eyes, letting the melody rise within her. It began as a soft hum, a whisper in the air, but as she sang, the sound grew stronger, more powerful. The notes filled the hall, vibrating through the stone walls and into the very ground beneath them. For a moment, everything was still. Caden stood motionless, his expression unreadable as the song echoed through the hall. And then, as the final note lingered in the air, something shifted. The tension that had been thick in the room began to dissipate, and for the first time, Jessica saw a flicker of something. Hope, perhaps, flicker in Caden's eyes. He nodded slowly. "There is power in your song," he said quietly. "I don't fully understand it, but I believe you. I will listen. I will share this with my people." A sense of relief washed over Jessica. It wasn't a complete victory, but it was a step forward. As they left the Highland clan stronghold, Ethan gave her a look of pride. "You did it," he said, his voice filled with quiet admiration. "One step closer to uniting them all." Jessica smiled, the weight of their mission still heavy on her shoulders, but lighter than it had been before. She knew that this was just the beginning. The road ahead would be long, but she was ready. She had the melody, and with it, the power to change the world. With the success of the Highland clan, Jessica and Ethan pressed on, traveling across the land to unite the other clans. Each new encounter brought its own set of challenges, but they faced them with determination. The Luna melody was becoming more powerful within Jessica, its presence growing stronger with every performance. As they journeyed, Jessica began to realize that the melody was not only a song, it was a force that connected all living things. The more she shared it, the more she understood its true nature. It was a bridge, a connection between people, places, and even the very elements of nature. Their next destination was the River Clan, known for their mastery over water and their deep spiritual connection to the flow of life. Unlike the Highland Clan, the River Clan was more open to new ideas, but they held their traditions close, and their leaders were wise and cautious. When Jessica and Ethan arrived, they were greeted with respect, though there was still a wariness in the air. The leader of the River Clan, a tall woman named Celine, stood before them, her expression serene but unreadable. "I have heard of your journey, Jessica Stone," she said, her voice calm but firm. "The story of the Luna melody has spread far, and I must admit, I am curious. But what makes you think that our people, who have lived in harmony with the waters for centuries, would need this melody of yours?" Jessica looked into Celine's eyes, feeling the weight of her words. The River Clan had always been self-sufficient, relying on their deep knowledge of the land and water. Yet, Jessica knew that unity was the key to peace, and the Luna melody was the tool they needed to achieve it. "It's not about replacing what you have," Jessica said, her voice steady. "The Luna melody is about connection. It's about weaving together the strength of all our people, not dividing us by our differences. It's about finding common ground, understanding, and peace. I'm not here to change your ways, but to offer a way for us to stand together as one." Celine studied Jessica for a long moment, her gaze unwavering. There was a quiet strength in the leader's eyes, and Jessica could sense that she was weighing the possibilities. Finally, Celine spoke. "I will listen to this melody of yours. If it can truly bring us together, I will share it with my people." They moved to the riverbank, where the water flowed peacefully under the moonlit sky. The sounds of the river were soothing, a perfect backdrop for Jessica's song. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and began to sing. The melody filled the air, blending with the gentle flow of the river. The notes seemed to dance on the surface of the water, rippling outward as if the song itself was alive. As Jessica's voice echoed across the river, a strange sense of harmony settled over the land. For the first time in her life, Jessica felt completely in tune with the world around her. The song was not just a melody, it was a language, a universal one that everyone, regardless of their background or differences, could understand. When the final note lingered in the air, the silence that followed was thick with meaning. Celine, who had stood quietly, her eyes closed, opened them slowly, a faint smile on her lips. "It is as you said," she said softly. "This melody, it is a bridge. I will share it with my people. Let us begin the journey toward unity." Jessica felt a wave of relief wash over her. Another step had been taken, another leader had been brought into the fold. As she and Ethan walked away from the river, the moon shining brightly overhead, Jessica knew that they were closer than ever to achieving their goal. The road ahead was still long, but with each new alliance, the melody's power grew, and with it, the hope for a united future.